Hello, and welcome to the Over 50 Health and Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin English, founder of The Silver Edge. Our mission at The Silver Edge is to inspire men and women in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond to live their strongest, healthiest, most fulfilling lives. In this podcast, we share stories of amazing individuals who are doing just that, to help motivate you to become the healthiest version of yourself, regardless of your age. And now, on to today's podcast. Hello, my guest this week is Gail Gensler. Gail is a 59-year-old entrepreneur and lifelong fitness enthusiast who is passionate about sharing the benefits of embracing a healthy lifestyle for women age 50 and beyond. She is an avid kickboxer and writes blog posts for Century Martial Arts. Gail, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I'm glad you're here. So I certainly want to talk to you about where you are with fitness today and your lifelong passion for fitness and how you got into the martial arts side of that. But let's back up and start at the beginning. Can you tell me what were you like as a girl? Were you active as a girl?
Always athletic. I grew up with two brothers, so I was surrounded by people playing sports always. And I just naturally gravitated towards particular sports. So in school, I always gravitated to things that seemed to consist of hitting things. And I had actually read an article last year which crystallized in my mind why I love what I love. So I loved tennis. I was on the tennis team. I loved volleyball. I was on the volleyball team. I was a champion tetherball player. And the common denominator in all of those things is I was always hitting things. But I've always been athletic. I've always done some sort of sport throughout my life.
Well, tell us a little bit about a champion tetherball player, because that's something I think most of us remember in our age group seeing on a playground. That's the pole with the rope and the ball, right?
I'm so impressed that you actually knew that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I was blessed enough to go to sleepaway camp every summer. I grew up in New York. I grew up on Long Island in New York, and I would go to either Pennsylvania or somewhere in upstate New York. And so all you did all day long was play sports and do things like arts and crafts, which I also enjoyed greatly. But that's all I did all day long. And so when I got introduced to tetherball, I just had a natural inclination towards it. And we would have what were called color war. At the end of the camp season, they would divide the camp up into two teams, much in the spirit of the Olympic Games of ancient Greece. And so I was the champ. I was the champ jack player, and I was the champ tetherball player.
And how does one play tetherball against an opponent? Is that how that works?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Just describe that a little bit, because I can't remember. Are you back to back and you're hitting it around to each other and you're trying to wrap the rope around the pole? Is that right?
That's right. So you're on opposing sides. And so I'm hitting the ball to you. You're trying to block it and stop it and then return it back to me. And I'm trying to wrap it around my way. You're trying to wrap it around your way.
That's right. Okay. So you obviously have this affinity towards, as you say, hitting things. So I suspect some hand-eye coordination there that you're just naturally good at. Were you playing on a tennis team or volleyball teams as well, or was this more just kind of free play?
Tennis team in school, volleyball team in school, but I do have to say I did prefer volleyball. I was much more talented at that sport. But in camp, it was just everything all day long. That was it. So always athletic, always loved to be active, loved to be outside doing things.
Okay. And then did you continue that into your high school years?
Yes. So that's when actually I was on the tennis team and the volleyball team. It was during junior high school and high school as well.
What came after that? Did you go to university or?
I did. I went locally to university here in Florida because we had already moved to Fort Lauderdale from New York. And I don't recall doing very much at that time. I think I was just generally active, but I wasn't dedicated to a particular sport. It wasn't until about 1983 when group fitness classes first came up, that I really found a home and I really found something that I loved. And then that was it. I was hooked. I was done. So I was doing group fitness classes from 1983 all the way through. I took up running. I took up weightlifting as the years progressed. And then in 1999, at a local gym here in Aventura, which is a city in Miami, I was introduced to boxing, and then it was all over.
Okay, so on Instagram, you're Boxing Princess 22. So tell us what happened in 99. How did you find boxing?
The gym that I was going to offered one boxing class on Thursday nights, and it looked interesting, so I said, okay, let me give this a try. And I fell in love at first sight. And the boxing teacher, who I'm still friends with to this day, who has subsequently gone on and opened his own gym, I decided to take some private lessons with him because if I'm going to do something, I want to do it well. I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for effort and to just at least be talented in my endeavors. And so I took some classes with him, private classes, and then that was it. I just carried on, and eventually a boxing gym opened up in the area. I started there as a member, and then I used to jokingly say to the owner, if you ever want to sell this, please consider me. And he would be like, oh, stop, no, stop. And I would just keep on being very persistent, which I can be. And eventually one day he came back to me and said, guess what? I'm going to sell the gym and I'm offering it to you first. So I actually had the incredible experience of owning a boxing gym.
What year was that?
Unfortunately, it was 2008. So I bought the gym, and within 6 months, the economy plunged into the recession. So my timing was not particularly good. I held on for about a year, thoroughly enjoyed the experience. I was able to put my business skills together with my athletic skills, and it was a joy to bring such a great workout experience to 400 people. But I held on as long as I could, and then that was it. I could not do it anymore. And I was obviously still at my current job, which I've been at for 21 years. So I couldn't sustain it at that point.
Yeah, I can see how that can be overwhelming. So there were 400 members in this boxing gym. That's quite a community. So tell us a little bit about what goes on in a boxing gym. What happens there day to day?
I really was involved more in the group fitness end. So when I owned the boxing gym, there were group fitness classes scheduled throughout the day. There was also a full gym area, so anybody can come in and lift weights and do their thing in that regard. We also had a cage where people were doing some martial arts, and there were classes going on with that. There was a ring, and not only were people taking private sessions in the ring, but then there were camps for younger people. There were youth programs for youth boxing programs. And I even had a few rabbis from the local synagogue who actually came as a group and would box together, which was amazing to watch.
Yeah, I can see how that would be amazing to watch, the boxing rabbis. So when you say boxing, people might hear that and think some different things, right? They could think of obviously a boxing match that you would see on television, the hitting of the bags. You have a heavy bag or a speed bag. When you first found this love of boxing, I'm imagining you weren't necessarily, or maybe you were. Tell us, were you fighting other people, or was this more?
Oh, no.
Okay, yeah, kind of talk to us about what goes on when you say boxing.
So a typical boxing class is much like other group fitness classes, sometimes designed by the instructor alone, sometimes deemed a certain program by the gym, just depends on the place. But it generally starts off with some cardio as a warm-up. It can go into some shadow boxing using some weights. It can go into an actual lifting of a little bit heavier weights, maybe doing compound movements like, for example, bicep curls with squats just as a warm-up, and then it's time to glow up. And that's where the real fun begins. And so you're doing combinations. Some are boxing classes, some are kickboxing, so that would be a combination of both hitting and kicking the bag. So it really is, as you mentioned earlier, hand-eye coordination. It's amazing because you're using your power, and it is a very intense workout. So it's tremendous cardio. you are using your core a lot if your form is correct. So it's a tremendous core workout. And most of these group fitness classes blend in during the boxing time, blending in squats, blending in abs. And again, depending on the teacher, it could end with a session of abs. The abs can be mixed in. I actually taught group fitness boxing for a bit, which was a lot of fun. And I had tremendous mentors to learn from and to then apply in my own classes. So my goal was always to mix it up, and nobody should ever know what was coming next.
What sort of people are coming in, typically showing up for these classes?
So it's interesting that you should ask me that question. I actually just wrote a blog about that. So it's very fresh in my mind. It is so interesting because it's always a very diverse group of people that you would probably never run across, or I would never run across in my daily life, ranging in age from people in their 20s to people in their 60s. So it's a very diverse range of ages and backgrounds and goals. However, the common goal, and what's so incredible about that, is you have that 1 hour of pure joy where you're doing something for yourself, for your body, for your mind, because it is hand-eye coordination. You have to pay attention to the combinations. So it's that 1 hour, that precious hour of joy of my life that I'm spending with complete strangers. But I'm doing it every single day. And here in Miami, due to obviously the weather, it is very conducive to having a lot of fitness events. Obviously, we're talking pre-COVID. So a lot of fitness events and things going on. And so you come together for these incredible events. And when you start to go often, then you start to see the same people over and over again. And although Miami is a very big city, it's actually a very small town, particularly the fitness community. So I am known everywhere because I go to everything, because it's my joy. It's what I love to do. So inevitably, if I show up at this gym, I'll be like, oh wait, I think I met you before. And it's that immediate bond that gets resuscitated again, but it's a bond with somebody that it was just a fleeting moment in time that you spent with them. But for me, their mere presence enhanced that experience for me because we did it together.
Yeah, there's certainly something to be said with that shared bond of suffering together or having joy or doing something difficult. So I can certainly relate to that, and I can see how that could be addictive and keep you coming back. Now, you mentioned, are you going to several different gyms? Is that what you're doing, or you go exclusively to one gym these days?
Now I'm going to one particular gym that I had visited before but was not a member of, and I actually chose my current gym due to current situation. It's a very safe place to go work out. It is covered on the top, but open on all of the sides. And so it is a very sweaty, disgusting, sort of hybrid outdoor workout, but I feel very, very safe there. The name of the gym is Mickey Demos Boxing in Miami. And he is an old boxer and also a pro boxing coach. So getting instruction from one of the best and very, very well known here in Miami. I was actually going to a different place before, but with the advent of COVID, I decided to change locations. But prior to this, I was trying everything because why not? The worst thing that could be is I don't really love the workout. Maybe it doesn't resonate with me, but it was great. And I tried it and it was challenging. It was an experience and I wish them well and I move on and then I see them somewhere else. And so it's fun and it does build a sense of community, which is very, very nice. And again, because it is so diverse, I can be working out with somebody that's 20 who is young enough to be my child. I can be working out with my contemporaries or anywhere in between. But we all have one common passion, and that is we're taking care of ourselves. We're embracing a healthy lifestyle, regardless of age and regardless really of what your end goal is. And it's fun. Everybody's having fun.
Yeah, that's fascinating to me. I suppose, is this something that's growing as a fitness modality, boxing and kickboxing in a class setting?
It's funny you should ask that. Yes. So now you had all these other gyms which were really focused on different types of workouts, whatever they were. And all of a sudden, they realize that boxing is such a great workout, and they expand and they add some bags, and then they try and get some teachers. And in fact, it actually led to the talent pool being very diluted. This was last year. I started to notice this, that because boxing was growing as a modality and people really loved it, there weren't enough instructors around who really were boxers. So, hence the talent pool became a little diluted. Mind you, not everybody would notice. I'm a princess. So, my expectation level is I want to be taught by somebody that actually knows true form and knows the sport.
Well, talk to us a little bit about what the true form and knowing the sport. So as I'm envisioning this in a class setting, it sounds like it's more than just aerobics with striking a bag in concert with an instructor. It sounds like this is more involved, and you're actually learning. You had mentioned combinations. So are you advancing in? I'm sure you are advancing in degrees of difficulty. Talk to us a little bit about the progression of your boxing skills as you move forward.
So again, depending on the instructor, but because I pick and choose wisely, I am always working on my form because that's a never-ending endeavor. And footwork, which is my weakness, that is not my best. I'm much better at upper body than I am at lower body. I never kickboxed before a gym that I was a founding member of in 2018. I actually never kickboxed. I only boxed. And they were really a kickboxing gym. And I thought, okay, I'll give it a try. And I actually ended up loving it. It's great. But the instructor that I have now, which is the owner of this gym, as a pro boxer and as a pro boxing coach, I'm refining my footwork. Boxing is not just your arm. It's not an arm movement. It comes from the whole shoulder. It comes from your hips. The force is coming from the movement of your body forward. And there's a lot of footwork involved, and there's a lot of combinations and in and out and how to avoid things and flipping and there's a whole bunch of things. Again, not everybody wants to focus on that, which is great. Then it's just a great all around total body workout in 1 hour, because that's really all you need. You do not need more than 1 hour.
Do they have different classes for different skill levels, or do you scale within the class depending on the students?
It's there. Where I have gone, there's no particular skill level required. Most of it, you just get thrown to the wolves. You get thrown in, and if the instructor is gracious and kind, which some are, some aren't, they will come over and give you some instruction. When I taught, I would obviously seek out the people that I could see were suffering a little bit because they were novices and try and give them some help. But it's up to the person. Some people don't, it doesn't matter to them. They're just enjoying the freedom of working out in that type of an endeavor. It doesn't really matter to them. Not everybody's so on top of their form.
Yeah, so it's just fascinating to me that I didn't realize that there was such a strong community of boxers and kickboxers out there in that kind of class setting. So that's great. So you found something that you're obviously very passionate about. You said it was 1999 when you first started.
I was only 2.
Yeah, me too. And so you've been at this ever since.
Stopped.
I mean, has this just been a consistent passion?
Never stopped.
And why do you think that is? What has kept you active in this sport and so passionate for so long?
Well, first of all, I do mix in other things. I do mix in HIIT classes. I do mix in an occasional run, but at 59, my knees are not loving that. I used to be much more of an avid runner, but I stopped that. I mix in an occasional spin class. So I am mixing it up. And as I said, I've tried other things that are out there because, again, as I said, if I don't like it, so I just won't go back, and that's fine, but I can take it as an experience. When I box, when that music starts and when that class starts, I am taken into a completely different headset. My mind is clear. I am focused. I'm living in the moment. It is, to me, the true definition of intentional living. I am not thinking of anything else, which, as you know, as an adult, right, your head is flooded with all these other thoughts that go through your mind, and it's very hard to be intentional with what you're doing. With boxing, I don't think of another thing other than the movement of my body and sweating and having a great time. And also at this point, obviously counting my blessings that I'm still in beast mode. I am no different than I was 20 years ago. No different.
I love that you're saying at 59, you're still in beast mode. I can certainly personally relate to that very much. Sounds like when you're in this class, you're almost tapping into a flow state, right? You mentioned that that's when you are intentionally living. And clearly I can see how that can be addictive and be an important part of your daily life. So let's move on a little bit from the boxing and talk about your current workout regime. You mentioned that you box quite a bit. Are you working out every day? Do you work out certain days of the week? What does a typical week of exercise look like for you?
I am a beast. So it's every day, which actually, and every now and again, my batteries run out and I do take a rest day. But I actually have the ability, and I just feel better when I work out every single day. So I would go to a class every single day. Obviously, with COVID, life changed at the beginning. We were quarantined. The gyms were closed. I was still blessed to be able to go to work, but I didn't want to stop my workouts. So I made a small home gym. I bought a Wave Master bag from Century Martial Arts. I sort of saw this coming very early, and I thought, I better prepare myself because there's no way I can be without. So I got my Wave Master bag. I got weights. I got all kinds of toys. I got an ab roller. I got ankle weights. You name it, I got it. And then I started to get very creative of what I could do in my building. So I was utilizing the stairs that are in my building. I live in a condo, so there's loads of stairs. And I was utilizing what was outside as well. There are benches there, so I was doing workouts there. And again, putting in an occasional run. And I was actually enjoying it. I was taking advantage of the plethora of virtual workouts that were already either on Instagram or YouTube or places like Pop Sugar Fitness. And then obviously when everybody had to halt in the gym environment, so everybody migrated online. And there were actually too many workouts. I didn't have enough time. I was doing it twice a day, which was crazy, but I was so excited. It was like a little kid with this new chest of toys. And I was like, I have to try this, and I have to try this, and I have to try this. So I have all of that, and I signed up for several, one of which is the place I'm actually going to live now, but I signed up for several virtual programs that I paid for. I retained one as a virtual and one I'm going to, and one is just not convenient. So I loved taking her classes while I could, but it just doesn't fit into my life. So now I'm back at the gym. But I still intermittently use my home workouts, which I have for the last few days, actually. The weather here has been absolutely brutal. It has been ridiculously humid and stormy. So I just doing my thing at home, which is great. I actually save and archive loads of workouts from Instagram. And then on the weekends, I'll go through them and trash the ones that really aren't that relevant or aren't that great. And then a morning like this morning, I just went through everything that I saved that had to do with booty and core, and I just went at it for 50 minutes. So it was true ADD style. I had a new teacher like every 4 minutes. It was great.
Well, I can certainly see how in Southern Florida, this time of year, we're recording this in August, that can be pretty brutal if you're in an outdoor gym with that heat and humidity. I'm here in coastal North Carolina, and it can be pretty savage here. So you had mentioned that you saw the writing on the wall as we were coming into this COVID crisis, and you managed to get some home workout equipment. Congratulations to you, because that's really hard to come by now. You mentioned that you got a Wave Master bag. I'm envisioning this. I think I saw it on your blog post. Is this a stand-up, like a kickboxing box, a standing bag? Okay, that you would strike or
one
kick.
of the gyms that I was going to intermittently, just because I love her. It's called the Fit Shop here in Miami, but it's not very convenient for me. I go up there every now and again. Her energy is just tremendous. So she's a subject matter expert, and I asked her, I said, Kaiser, what do you recommend? And she said, this is what I recommend. This is what we use here. And I immediately called up and got my Wave Master. And what was nice is that it started a beautiful relationship with Century Martial Arts, and they invited me to write for them, which was not a skill that I thought I was adept at before. And I come to find that I love it. I really love it. And I look forward to writing about all different things. And I actually had somebody last week, she posted a picture of herself on her Wavemaster bag. And I commented on her feed and I said, that's great. I have one too, and I love it so much. Are you enjoying it? And you might want to go check out what I wrote about it on Century Martial Arts blog. And she wrote back, Boxing Princess 22, the reason I got it is because of your blog. And that just made my heart sing. I was so happy with that. But yeah, sorry, I digressed a little bit, but it was such a heartwarming story. It made me feel so good. I was so happy. I got the bag immediately. I ordered weights on Amazon immediately. I ordered more booty bands on Amazon immediately. And again, because I was early to the game, there was availability. Within 1 week, people were crying that there was nothing.
You're hard pressed if you're trying to put together a home gym right now, that's for sure. So let's talk a little bit about diet. What do you do for nutrition to fuel all of this beast mode exercise?
I am pathetic in the kitchen. It is not something I'm talented at. It's not something I'm interested in. I never was. I still remember my mother screaming at me when I was a child, watch me or you're never going to learn. And I would run away screaming, saying, I don't want to learn. And I still don't. So I'm very simple. I have managed to maintain my size. I'm happy with the way that I look, and I'm happy with the energy level that I have. I'm a huge fan of protein, although I'm very picky also. I've become worse as I've gotten older. I'm super picky about my food. So I don't eat meat at all anymore, and it has nothing to do with anything other than the fact that I had read it takes 72 hours to digest in your system. And I just went, okay, that doesn't really feel good to me. But it has nothing to do with anything other than that. So I'm a huge fan of chicken and turkey burgers and some edamame here and there. For me, it has to be very simple. Tuna, salmon, tuna fish, eggs. I love eggs, but it's all very simple and it's quite repetitive. I really eat the same things every single day. Now, with that being said, my downfall is I have a huge sweet tooth. So I would rather not eat anything at all and just give me a cookie or two.
And certainly you can burn that off pretty quickly, I'm sure, with the boxing classes every day. So it sounds like that you found something that works for you, right? You found what works, you stick with it. Like you said, you keep it simple. And I think that's an important distinction, that we look at nutrition more as a journey as opposed to a destination. There's just not one right way to eat. Certainly not for all people. There isn't. Could be for maybe individuals. So it sounds like you found a type of eating that works with your lifestyle. What about recovery? So if you're going hard 7 days a week at 59 years of age, what do you do for recovery and self-care?
I do a lot of stretching. I am inherently flexible, so that comes naturally to me anyway. So I'm always doing a lot of stretching. When I wake up, I stretch. Before I go to sleep, I stretch in my bed. So it's simple, it's easy. I stretch at the gym during the class as well. We take a time out to stretch. I also got a Threagun. So when I'm really hurting, I have the Threagun at home. And I do go for massages when I reach the point of where I really need some help.
And what about sleep? Is sleep an important part of your recovery?
Here's where I get laughed at. I go to sleep at about 8:30 at night because I get up at about 4:30, 4:45. And I have some things to do. I meal prep for the day in the morning. I take care of some things before I race off to the gym for a 6 a.m. class. I get home at 7, and then I must be to work at 8. So I have it very finely tuned. Again, it's what works for me. My energy level is far superior at that time than it is at 5 or 6 o'clock at night. I've also found for myself that if I work out at night, I'm so revved up and so hyper that then it interrupts my sleep patterns. But my family, all of us, my daughter included, we've always needed at least 8 hours of sleep. It's just in our DNA.
Early or getting up early and getting that workout in. before you're off to work. So that's very commendable. What would you say? You're clearly on your Instagram, you're very much an ambassador for healthy aging. Talk a little bit about that part of your philosophy of aging well and kind of some of the messages that you have out there on Instagram. Can you expound on that?
I come from a family of very long-lived human beings. My grandparents lived to 97 and 94, and my parents, who just recently passed in the last 2 years, were 92 and 90. So I believe, as far as I think, that I will be around for quite some time. I want those years to be vibrant and healthy. I also have a very young spirit and a very young soul. So the things that interest me, I would definitively say are not things that interest your typical 59-year-old. Part of that might be because my staff is young, so I am surrounded by younger people, and I love it. And they actually know what I'm talking about. For example, with music, I play a lot of music at work, but they know it from their parents, or they'll know it from movies like, Guardians of the Galaxy. I'll be playing something, oh, that was in Guardians of the Galaxy. So it sort of feeds into that, but I do have a very youthful spirit to begin with. I'm also vain. I will admit to you, I am vain. So as long as I'm going to be walking around, I want to look good. And it's for me. It's not for anybody else. It is completely for myself. If other people are impressed by that, somebody just said to me today, I saw them for the first time in 10 years. They're like, you haven't aged. I was like, thank you. But I work hard at it, and I have a team that helps me with it. Again, I'm not embarrassed to say that I have a wonderful plastic surgeon. I have a wonderful dermatologist. But the working out obviously is part of that. When I started posting on Instagram, I started realizing by virtue of people's comments that I was unknowingly inspiring people. And that's when I thought, something, I really want to convey this message because I think it's very, very important. Especially here in Miami, it's a very, any place I think where you have outdoor living and people are walking around in not a lot of clothes, you have more of, right, you can't cover up. You're not wearing sweaters and jackets and bombers and things like that. So here, there's a lot of body exposure. And so I think it allows for a more healthy lifestyle in general. Not everybody certainly, but it does lend itself to that. I just said, something, if I'm inspiring my friends and now I'm all of a sudden getting comments from people I don't even know, maybe that's a message that I should really take that message and bring it out there. And it's been a joy, and it has been inspiring to me. I have found a tremendous community of women over 50 and beyond on Instagram, and I've become part of their community, and they of mine. And yet when I look at my insights, I realize that it's not just that community. I'm talking to people in their 20s. I'm talking to people in their 30s, their 40s. And that's great, because if I had had the knowledge in my 20s that I have now, wow, I would have done things quite differently.
Yeah, that's great. And certainly your message resonates, like you said, not just with the folks that are 50 and older, but I think it's inspirational just in general. I think in one of your recent Instagram posts, you said, "I'm not aging, I'm evolving." And I thought that was a great way of kind of addressing healthy aging.
It's a mindset. And I say that all the time in my posts too, because it's the narrative you want to tell yourself. You can either say, I'm 59, who cares? It doesn't matter anymore. I'm just going to enjoy my food, and I'm going to enjoy this, and I'm going to enjoy that. And that's fine. I mean, if that's where you're at and that's where your headset is at, that's great. It just wasn't great for me. It never was. I was not lean as a child. I always struggled with an extra 5, 10 pounds. And so I'm willing to admit that that's baked into my brain as well. So that's always in the back of my brain. And I really came to a different place in my mind of self-acceptance and self-love in my 50s. After I got married and had my child and did all that, it really took me to my 50s to really look at myself as others were looking at me and realize, you know what, Gail? Doing great. You're really doing great. And I'm very comfortable in my own skin. I'm not perfect. I've got lots of flaws. You cannot help but have aging flaws at 59 and a half years old. You don't have the same laxity of skin that you had before. Knees and elbows are a terror. I mean, there are just things that are really hard to fix. And at this point, I just go, I'm going to control the things I can control. I'm going to work on my head. I'm going to work on my body. I'm going to work on my emotional state. And I'm just going to work on the controllables. And the things that aren't controllable, okay.
Yeah, let's not spend our cycles on the things we can't control, but let's certainly do put our time and energy into the things we can. That's very, very well said. So what's next for you? What do you have on the horizon?
So although I love my job and I've been at my current job for 21 years and I've been in the automotive industry for over 30 years, I decided there were some signs that came to me from the universe that this was the time to really go for it and to reach a new goal. Because the gym didn't work out, that was my first back in 2008, 2009, and I was a group fitness instructor at that time, and it was great. And I did teach a little bit about 3 years ago, but I let that all go, and I felt, okay, it wasn't the time. But there were a few things that came into my consciousness, and I thought, this is the time. So I was looking for a social media agent, and at a fitness event, I met somebody and we immediately clicked, and I hired her. And I know it's crystallized in my mind of what I want to do. It is a process, right? Because Instagram is a process, and whatever your goals are, I'm not a trainer, I'm not a subject matter expert, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not any of those things. I am just a unique 59-year-old woman that I don't really see very many of, who are not out there. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm trying to sell you the narrative in your head. And that's to say, you can be anything you want to be at 59 and beyond, because I'll be doing this at 70. It's not going to be any different. It's going to be the same. So that's what I want to do. I want to bring my message of embracing a healthy lifestyle at any age to everybody, and to hopefully be the face of some brands, which I've already started doing, but I have much bigger goals.
Folks can go and check you out on your Instagram. It's Boxing Princess 22, and I can drop that into the show notes. But you have a very polished, professional looking site, and I suspect is there a professional photographer involved in that?
The name of her company is Stellar Media Agency, and she does all the photos, videos, and movies, and edits them wonderfully. And she'll make movies, or she'll just do videos. We do still shots. And Miami is a very colorful place. There's lots of fascinating places to shoot here. And so we go from location to location. There's always something else. So I try and make the background exciting and colorful and fun. And I am a woman of quotes. I get that from my dad, and also from the greatest mentor of my life, who was the owner of the company I work for, who last month passed away at 93. So he had a great life, but he was a man of quotes. And so I've sort of carried on that tradition in the vein of Mr. Esterman and his quotes, because quotes are great. He always said, there's no need to recreate something. It's okay to steal something from somebody else, because you could never say positive, wonderful things enough. Because for somebody, it'll be the first time they're going to hear it.
No, I like that. You can't say wonderful, positive things enough. I would agree with that wholeheartedly. Well, as we kind of wrap up here, what would you say to, let's say it's a woman in her 50s or 60s, and perhaps she does not have your background. She's not been active her entire life and is maybe out of shape, but maybe she hears this or sees your Instagram and she's inspired. She thinks, well, she's tried other things and it just hasn't resonated with her. What would you say to somebody who's a little bit older, maybe not in great shape, but thinks, hey, would a boxing class be for me? Is this something that I could do? It sounds intimidating, but sounds exciting. What would you say to that woman?
First and foremost, it's only about you. It's not about anybody else, because quite frankly, anybody else in a group fitness environment is focused on themselves. They might look at you for a moment, but they really don't care. They're not really interested in you. So it's your journey. This article that I had read, which gave me that aha moment of why boxing resonated with me so much. And I just reread another one where it said, if you go back to your childhood, we all played sports in our childhood. What did you play? Was there something that you liked? Because if you liked this and this type of a fitness program might resonate with you. So that's a good place to start. But like, for example, what did you enjoy doing when you were young for sports?
Yeah, I was mostly outdoor things, a lot of outdoor play. I did wrestling, I did baseball, did a little bit of this and that.
So, then I would say, okay, so based on what you did and you enjoyed as a child, what would that translate to now? Right. So obviously things that are outdoors and you might find, and it can be anything. It could be, it doesn't have to be the stereotypical group fitness class. I think it also depends. You have to ask yourself honestly, am I disciplined enough to do this without somebody holding my hand at the beginning? That's why there are so many great personal trainers. And I'm a huge advocate of that. Again, be honest with yourself. I'm super disciplined in everything. So I don't need the hand holding. But if you're not, then hire a qualified person who can get you started on your journey. You'll find what it is. That person will figure it out when they do an analysis with you, and they'll ask you these type of questions of, what are your goals and what did you like to do and what could you see yourself doing? You can try a little bit of everything. If you join a gym that has many different types of classes, additionally, just as a little hint, every gym in town will give you one free class. So theoretically, you could go to every single gym. You can go to a spin class. You can go to a boxing gym. You can go to a partner interval training gym. You can go to a high-intensity training gym and just take one class and see if it works for you. If it doesn't work for you, thank you. I appreciate the experience. It just wasn't for me. So that's what I would say. But we are all living, for the most part, obviously, we're all living longer. And my parents and my grandparents were all extremely healthy until the very, very end. My older brother, who is in his 70s, practices yoga every single day. My sister-in-law is an advanced yogi. She has been mentored by the best and teaches very advanced yoga. So I have that in my family too. That's what they love. They love yoga. But, would they love a boxing class? They tried it when I owned my gym. They were like, it's fine. It was fun. It wasn't their vibe, but it was fun. So I think you just like with anything else, when you go shopping, right, you're going to try on a whole bunch of different outfits and you say, okay, this looks good on me. I feel good in this. This will work for my lifestyle. I think it's the same thing. You have to try on a bunch of different things. But if you know that unless you have somebody monitoring you, you're not going to be consistent, then certainly seek professional help.
Certainly finding something that you love and something that you can do consistently is really the key there, right? It may not be kickboxing. You could try it. And if it doesn't, it's not for you. There's a lot of other things we can do to stay active and to stay healthy. But I suppose it's tapping into, like you said, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. Looking all the way back into your childhood, what you like to do for physical activity and kind of relating that to today. But the real key is just finding that thing that really lights you up, makes you passionate, and that you can do consistently. Because like you said, we are living longer, and we want to live healthier lives. There's this idea of a compression of morbidity that you kind of alluded to. There's a couple of different ways to go as older people, right? One is the long drawn out path of metabolic illness, et cetera, and ill health. And the other is being very healthy and, having that shorter morbidity cycle, so to speak. But I do think that staying active, taking care of yourself, practicing self-care and sound nutrition makes a lot of sense. And it makes more sense as we're getting older, right? To take care of ourselves.
Without question. I mean, again, having had very aged grandparents and parents, I looked at their peers and I saw everything I didn't want to become. And that was a very strong message for me too. As adults, we have lost many of us lose the sense of having fun. What's fun? As a kid, you have fun organically. It's just something that you do because every experience is a new experience and it's fun and it's enlightening and it's exciting and you're not thinking about it. You're really living intensely as a kid. You're just in the moment enjoying it. And as we get older, I think we lose that. And so if you find something that you're actually having fun, I always call the gym my playground. That's my playtime because I find it fun and I want to have fun. I don't ever want to stop having fun. There needs to be joy.
There needs to be joy. Amen to that. Yeah. I think that what happens is a lot of us, maybe even as older adults, we're told the doctor gives us the prescription of basically eat healthy and get some exercise. And so that might mean walking or going to a gym or whatever. But if it's not something that lights you up, if it's not something you're passionate about, if it's not something that's fun for you, the chances of you continuing that over the long haul are pretty slim. So I think the call to action here is for folks to find out what that is and do more of it.
And Instagram is a great place to start looking because you can see all different types of workouts on there just by searching hashtags. And you can watch people doing some things. And, there's everything on there. And there's other resources on YouTube and there's loads of resources if you're the type that wants to research in the comfort of your own home before you venture out. You can do that and then venture out and go out there. And then of course, not right now, but there were always things like ClassPass and things where you can diversify your membership by being able to go to all different kinds of places, which I just did on my own anyway, just because it's fun.
Yeah, I like that as we're wrapping up here, that our final topic is fun. I hadn't thought of it that way. Certainly, I enjoy working out what I do, and I'm aware that other people would not think what I do is fun or enjoyable. But when you think about it as fun and that you intrinsically knew that as a child, kind of harnessing some of that into this age, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond is certainly a valuable advice. Well, Gail, where would you like people to connect with you? Is Instagram the best place?
Instagram is the best place. You can find me on Instagram, Boxing Princess 22. If you wish to read some of my blogs, you can find them on Century Martial Arts. You can also find some of them on the Pro Age Woman, which is a platform that was put together by a wonderful woman, Mary Frischman, and it is for women 50 and beyond, a place for us to collaborate, put our stories, and hopefully inspire other people too. And you can see me in the Brickell City Center newsletter, August edition, and in Brickell Magazine, August edition as well.
Okay, great. And if you'll send me some links to that, I'll make sure I get all of that in the show notes so folks can look you up there. Well,
I will.
Gail, you certainly are a great inspiration for healthy aging, and I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. And thanks so much for spending the time on the show with us today.
It has been my pleasure, and likewise. Thank you so much. This was a really fun experience.
Well, that's our show for today, folks. If you enjoyed today's episode, please tell your friends and please consider subscribing and giving us a 5-star review. All the show notes and much more are available at our website at silver-edge.com. That's silver-edge.com. So until next time, stay strong.